Hello and welcome to round number 2, the Formula Sim Racing 2020 Winter Series. We are here at Teretonga Park. It's a nice little track. Got some racing for you today. We've got two races. We've got a feature race and a sprint race to come. And today I'm your commentator Cameron Rodger, and joined today by Hillebrand. Hello.
Hello there, and yeah, thank you for having me. It's my first anything race in the FSR community, so I hope we're gonna see some very good racing here, as you know, the reputation of this community already precedes it, being one of the oldest leagues here. Shall we proceed to the track information then?
Yeah, go ahead.
Right, as you said, we're at Teretonga Park. It's a very short lap, only 2.57 kilometers with 8 corners, so the track length already rivals some of, kart tracks around the globe. And as you said, we have a feature and a sprint race today. The feature race will be 70 kilometers with a mandatory pit stop, so 28 laps. And the mandatory pit stop does enforce a complete tire change, and it has to be more than one lap on this one set of tires. So people can't do, the pit stop on the last lap and just pull a cheeky little Schumacher there. The second race will be a sprint race, 50 kilometers, so 20 laps, and of course no mandatory pit stop there. And, well, we come to the car here as they now head onto the track. The drivers are racing in the Tatuus FT60, the car provided to the Toyota Racing Series in New Zealand. It has a 2-liter turbo engine, which produces 270 brake horsepower. It tops out at around 250 kilometers an hour and weighs 670 kilograms.
Yeah, in the series today, we've got two races, as I said, the feature and the sprint race, and both of them have two slightly different points tables. We've got 35 points for the win in race 1, the feature race, where they have the pit stop, and then race 2, it's only 20 points, so the feature race is where you pick up the most points. However, after last race, we had the basically three guys fighting for both race wins. We had Janos Brakshock taking the win in the feature race with a brilliant pit stop to get ahead of Jernej. But then Jernej Simoncic came back in the sprint race to beat Pev on the final lap with Brakshock right behind them. And that means that the championship table is very close at the top. Got Janos Brakshock 51 points and Jernej Simoncic also on 51 points. KO just 6 points back there. And as you can see, there's a number of other drivers who are pretty close as well. There's plenty of time for them to get points back. We have 8 races left to go to today, and then we have Hampton Downs, Pukekohe Park and Manfield to finish in a couple of weeks' time. But in the background, you can see the cars are out for their qualifying laps. So let's jump on board and see what people are doing and who is setting some fast lap times.
Yeah, and already we have Jan Vosnika finishing his first hot lap here with a 50.493. At the moment, oh, and there we go with Pev already beating it by almost 3/10. But of course, in this format here, besides the qualifying being quite short on this very short track as well, we only have 9 laps for the drivers, and that also includes out laps and in laps. So they have very limited time and space to get their fastest laps together. And of course, especially on a circuit like this, it's a lot of fast corners, and so there's not a lot of braking zones here. So not a lot of overtaking opportunities. I think the main contester here will be, staying constant, staying error-free, and, being able to defend well across the main straight and into the last corner braking zone. And as I'm talking here, Zoltzuks is just now on pole position with a 50.1, so already quite fast. We've got many people setting in laps now. I think almost everyone has done at least one lap now. And in last place I see Daniel Stepkowski, who just came out of the pit lane. 3 laps already, but hasn't managed to put a lap together yet. So he might be getting a bit nervous there now as well.
That 9 laps really makes it quite interesting because it's your prerogative how you want to spend them. You can either do 3 laps in a row, 3 single laps in a row. So do your lap come in, go out again, do your lap come in, go out 3 times, or do something completely different, and you can do a couple of laps in a row, etc. But as long as you don't go over those 9 laps, then you are all free to go and do whatever you want. If you go over the 9 laps, you will get a DQ from the session automatically, which means you will be starting from the back of the grid as well.
So a lot of interesting strategies here. And also I just saw in front of Argenis Riera, there was someone pulling into the pits there. That's Michael Teichmann, who just practiced the pit entry. We did see a lot of penalties in the last race, so post-race penalties about pit blending and entering. So there's gonna be people very nervous about that, especially for the mandatory pit stop here, because it's gonna be so impactful on the race going on. Because it's a very slow pit limit. The pit lane isn't that long, but when you're doing the majority of the lap at over 140, 150 kilometers an hour and only have one braking zone, then it feels like an eternity when you're on the pit lane going at 40 kilometers an hour and having to do the pit stop.
Yeah, it sure is. But someone who's not going slowly is Ben Hamlet. He's got up into 2nd place. He was down near a sort of 10th position or just around there in round 1 in Highlands Motorsports Park, but he's got himself up into P2 for the moment. And we have David Mocek on provisional pole. He did not attend the first race of the season, so he's got some catching up to do in terms of points, but looks like Simičić and Pave and even Brakshock are going to be have some other people around them, and because it is only an 8-corner track, these lap times are incredibly close. Half a second for the top 15.
And I have to say here, Zolt Sux and Zoltan Hives in 4th and 5th with exactly the same lap time, on perfectly on the 1,000th of a second, and that's already quite something. And we see already the distance from 2nd to 6th place, just over, well, still under half a tenth. And Jonas Bradshaw also just got into that now, so 2nd to 7th within half a tenth of a second. Quite incredible here, what is going on for this qualifying session.
Yeah,
a lot of people putting on a lot of effort here.
Yeah, as you said, there's only one proper braking zone, which is this, as I'm on board with Jan Woznica, is really this final corner. The others, you just sort of dab the brake a little bit. And with that means there's very little place to lose time, because in high-speed corners, you can't really lose that much time, only sort of thousandths or hundredths, because you're already really on the limit. As Jan does not improve there, stays in 14th place, but Peo Peeve goes up into 2nd place in the background with a 0.02, and then Mocek just improves first in the 49 to 49.997, the purple final sector.
Really accelerating here now, especially towards the end. You said it earlier, only one braking zone and you can lose the most time there, but not only braking into the corner but also coming out of it, because of course we have this insanely long front stretch here, and you don't get the traction down properly. If you slide a bit out of the corner, you're gonna lose some time, and that time is not just gonna get out of the acceleration zone. It's gonna stretch down the entire straight, and you're gonna lose some serious time here, especially when you're maybe in a pack and trying to get a bit of slipstream here, maybe on the straight, so you can just perhaps improve a little bit. Like half a tenth already does a lot here, as we saw.
And Zoltzook's now up into 3rd place, so that is half a tenth for the top 3 at the moment. So it is unbelievably close, which I think is going to be a trait for the remainder of the races and sessions we have coming for you later today. I don't think anyone's going to run off at the front. Very close. That's with that big straight, as you say, getting slipstream down into turn number 1. But who is that? Janos Brakshock, that is. A 49.8 goes up into provisional pole position with only 2 minutes left. And he still has time for another lap, actually. Pave is done, Mocek is done, Hamlet is done, Satherley is done, Williams is done. Lots of people have already done their allocated laps. So Brakshock has a good opportunity to keep this pole position for now.
Really smashed that lap time. Like just now we had Mocek barely into the, under the 50s with a 49.997, so 3,000th under the mark. And then Bradshaw just out of nowhere with a 49.8, so almost 2 tenths ahead now. A big sizable gap, and he improves again.
Wow. 0.7. He's 2 tenths ahead of everyone else. There's us saying, oh yeah, 1,000 here, thousandths there. He has just gone 2 tenths quicker than anyone else. As we saw in Highlands, he was definitely one of the guys to look out for, and it seems he is working his way again to the front of the field to potentially increase his championship lead, which he shares with Yanni Simoncic at the moment. He is down
In
in
ninth.
ninth position. Wow, ninth position.
I can't imagine he's happy with that place, especially seeing as the person he's joined in points with is on pole position here.
We have an interesting scenario here. So we've got a minute left of the session, but because the track is so short, everyone is completed. Yeah, I don't think we've actually seen that before, but yeah. I think that is it. Although I see someone going out in the distance there.
Woznicka.
That. Okay, so Woznicka, how many laps has he done? It says he's done 7 for me. So I think this is not enough, Jan, because you need 3 laps to do a flying lap. Because once you complete the line, you then go into your 10th lap, which means once you press escape, you complete 10 laps and you will get a disqualification. I think if Jan Woznicka completes this lap, actually get a DQ from the race. However, obviously we can't tell him that. It's his decision to do what he wants, and he's not going to make it to the line anyway, is he? It's just gone to 0 now.
I think he's just going to practice the pit entry here, as we've seen a couple people do already.
Yes,
and again,
it is an interesting pit entry. Should we see what he does? Yeah, so the line is by that tyre, so it's very early, and yeah, look, that lock up should go around the tyres there as well. So that is qualifying finished for round 2, and something that we haven't mentioned is your second fastest lap time in this session is grid position for race 2. And obviously we won't have those exact results till we get to the warm-up in between the two races, but it is Janos Brakshock on pole by 2 tenths of a second for race number 1. And we have David Mocek, his debut of this year's Winter Series in P2, followed by Pave, Zooks and Hamlet, rounding out the top 5 as we go into the warm-up session. So we will take a little break for just a couple of minutes, and then we'll be back with you to run you through the full grid and get you ready for your first race of round 2 of the Formula Sim Racing 2020 Winter Series. So we will see you in a couple of moments.
This is Formula Sim Racing. My name is Michi Hoyer and welcome here to the track presentation for round 2 of the FSR, the Formula Sim Racing Winter Series at Teretonga circuit. We are coming around final turn in the Tatuus FT60 and we are across the start finish straight over here. Starting our flying lap for track presentation, maxing out 6th gear on our way to turn 1. A super quick left-hander, so probably not the best overtaking spot as you want to carry as much speed as you can around the apex, which is quite late actually here on the corner, maximizing the exit speed, coming up into turn 2, right-hander, little on the brake because you need to have all that exit speed for turn 3 as it is all flat out through 3 and 4 before coming up to turn 5, a little tighter left-hander. Once again, apex is quite late, be early on the throttle. Left-hand king for turn 6, no issue whatsoever. And then I think the best overtaking spot here in the circuit is the final turn, turn 7, 2nd gear. You want to have a perfect exit as you need to carry all the speed up to turn 1, maybe even up to turn 2. But here we go across the line. That is 1 lap around the Teretonga circuit here. And I hope you guys are watching the live stream, watching the broadcast this Sunday, 15:45 GMT on the Formula Sim Racing channel. And we will see some great racing around here. Check this out.
and welcome back to round 2 of the Formula Sim Racing 2020 Winter Series. We're back with me, Cameron Rodger, and my commentator, Nico Hillebrand.
Hello there, welcome back.
Yeah, and we are just now moving our way into the race session. All the drivers are lining up on the grid. And as we saw just a few moments ago, Janos Brakshock is on pole for today's race. And there will obviously be a second race later on. But for now, we've got a 28 lap feature race. And then later on, we will have a 20 lap sprint race. But in this first race, the feature race, the drivers have to make a pit stop for tyres at some point. They can do it any lap they want, as long as it is not the last lap. So there's some strategy options. We saw people go early, we saw people go late last time. Janos Brakshock was the one who got it absolutely bang on in Highlands Motorsports Park, and he is leading the championship along with Jani Simicic. They're joint at the top with 1 points. But let's go to the race overlay, and Nico can run you through the top drivers.
Well, the top 10 here, as we said, led by Janos Brakshock, followed by David Marocek, both of them in an Invictus livery here.
I think that's a mistake.
Then on third place we have Peopiv, Zolt Sux in fourth. The third grid line is basically filled with Ben Hamlet and Tom Satherley. In the fourth row we find Matthew Williams and Zoltan Hives. Jani Simicic, second leader of this championship at the moment, is in 9th, and Ivan Leonov in 10th, as they're now going around the last corner, still warming up the tires and the brakes a little bit, just getting that little bit of heat in there. And in a moment we will have the start, and we see here we have quite a lot of people still going through the last corner. Now the last one is through there, 24 cars of course, so a quite big grid here.
And one thing that is quite interesting about this grid is that the grid boxes, as we can see here with Brakshock and Marocek, is the grids are very close together. In normal grids that we do, they're staggered, so number one will be a few meters ahead, but we do not have that today, or even for most of these tracks, it seems. And we cannot see the lights from this angle, so I'll see if I can get an angle where we can. And once they go out, we will have 28 laps of this very short Teretonga Park, where we have to see our drivers
and
make
it's starting.
A pit stop.
5 lights, and it's green, and that's a good start from third place, I think. Peopiv right already looking down the inside a bit, but he gets blocked off by Brakshock. Side by side, and Peopiv already moving up to second place there, not taking any hostages, he's just making the deal done right there. And everyone is quite close up together. I think we'll have a lot of aero push here going through these corners, because this is just the area where aerodynamic grip starts playing a big role in the grip through the corners. And of course, you have to keep the rhythm up through these corners. It's a very flowing circuit. If you mess up the rhythm there, then you can lose a lot of time through the rest of the track. And now they're heading down to the last corner already for the first time. Hard braking, and there's already contact. P5, P6, Tom Satherley goes off.
Oh yeah, Satherley is off, and he did not have a good race in Highlands Motorsports Park either, and he's going to go all the way to the back, 24th position, and he's already going to make his pit stop because he might as well. So we will have to see where he comes out later on. But it is Brakshock from Peev and Marocek as we come on to lap number 2. These laps are going to go very quickly as it is such a short track.
We already have a lot of people side by side fighting already in the background as well. I just saw contact out of the corner of my eye. Oh, and Pedro Moura, and who's that second car?
That is Noah Rivers for the ground effects car. And see, one thing that with this car, as I've noticed, it gets stuck in the gravel traps really easily because it is, I guess, such a low down car with small tyres. You can get stuck in the gravel traps really easily. And that is exactly what happened there. It took him a little bit longer to get out. But let's see where Tom Satherley is. He's only going around turn 1 now. So that is how long the pit stop is compared to the amount of track you can cover, because Brakshock is already coming around turn 1 as well. So that is how much time you're going to lose making a pit stop. And it's actually given Tom Savley a massive bit of road. If you look on the track map, he's coming around the top left corner there to finish Sector 2. So I have to see what he can do with these brand new tyres on a completely open track in front of him. And who's this? Ben Hamlet going side by side with Zolk Sooks. Bit of contact as we come around the kink of turn 7 into turn 8, the last corner, and Hamlet has made his way up to P4. And we saw this last time in round 1. Zooks started, I think it was about P4 as well, but then he eventually went down the field a little bit, and we've got a couple of people in the pit lane. Who is this? We've got Danny van der Neet and Jan Woznica in the pit lane.
Really nose to tail there. There was not a millimeter of space there. And van der Neet already fitting into his pit slot, and Woznica as well. I think Woznica just got stopped a little bit earlier. And, oh, he almost hits him as he gets going again. So they're side by side. Careful on the pit exit, boys. There were clean rules here. And Woznica very much on the edge of the yellow line there, so not in penalty grounds yet, I believe. And we have really a lot of trains here through the entire field.
Yeah, the drivers... Oh, someone else goes into the pit lane. We've got Jakubovic, it's telling me. But yeah, with just the way this track is, obviously you've only really got a couple of overtaking opportunities, but because it's so short, those opportunities come around very quickly. The track is 50 seconds, maybe 51, with a bit of fuel in the car as well. So these laps are going past very quickly, so you get your opportunities a lot more quickly as well. But it seems the top couple of Peeve and Brakshock have made a little bit of a gap to Mocek, who has made an even bigger gap to Hamlet, although obviously Hamlet was fighting with Zooks a couple of laps ago now, as we are already finishing lap 5 of 28.
And right behind that, we've got a bit of a train forming again as well. Matthew Williams trying to look down the inside of Zoltan Hives. And did he get a good enough exit? Because the gap is opening up a little bit, but now the draft will come in, the slipstream, and maybe he's gonna have enough of a run. Yeah, he looks down the inside, but he's not quite alongside yet.
Yeah, he actually got onto the rev limiter there, so that is the first time we've seen the top speed of 250 kilometers an hour. The straight wasn't really long enough in Highlands, but here with a full slipstream, Matthew Williams wasn't quite close enough, so he hit the rev limiter before he could get past. So that is a bit unfortunate for him and all the other drivers, because these cars are, in terms of gear ratios, they are locked. So they're pretty good on the shorter tracks. But when you get a really long straight like we do here at Teretonga, which is pretty much half the track, so really got to set up your wings correctly and stuff like that. So let's see if we can do it again. It's actually not going to be quite close enough this time around, but Yerny Simicic might be. He's not quite close enough either into turn 1 as they tip it in. Simicic down in 8th place, which is a little bit surprising. You would argue, considering he is joint leader of the championship at the moment.
Yeah, he's not really having a good weekend right now, and just as I was spectating the front earlier, because, you know, if we look a bit into the distance to the front of Brakshock, we can see the last couple places, so 24th up to 20th and 19th as well. And I just caught a glimpse of that earlier. Jan Woznica, Danny van der Neet and Chris Shepard going down 3 wide down the main straight. And really quite incredible. Chris Shepard was able to get past both of them, so...
Peeve going for the lead. He's going to have to go round the outside of Janos Brakshock. Not quite enough room there. That was
I can't keep it together there.
Yeah, it's obviously the long way round for turn number 1. So let's see, did Williams? Oh no, Williams didn't either. So we'll go back to Peeve to say that, yeah, he obviously got the run there, and he definitely had the overspeed. So it is possible, but they're actually starting to catch up to some traffic now. Some of these drivers towards the end of the lap who have already made their pit stop. You can see coming out the last corner, there's a whole little bunch of them there. And someone's around. Is that Tom Sadley again? I can't quite see, but there's someone on
There's Woznica.
Yeah, we'll have a look at him in a moment, because Sadley is going side by side into turn number 1, and he has got that position, although he's going to go a little bit wide, but he managed to bring it back. And did you say that was Jan Woznica? Let's have a look at what just happened to
I
Jan
think that might have
Woznica.
been a hardware failure there. He just, after the last corner, he just kept turning
Yeah, or
left.
that was obviously a screen freeze or something. I think he had a little bit of contact with the barrier as well. He had to do a whole 360. That was interesting thing to look at, and he has DNF'd, unfortunately, for Jan Woznica. He's a little bit prone to misfortune and weird things happening, unfortunately for him. And we've got someone off the track. Let's have a look at a replay here. Is this Indrek Remits going off in turn 1, is it? Yeah, he just lost the rear end a little bit, went on the grass. Did he manage to keep it out the barriers? We just touched them a little bit. It seems like he's going to get going again.
Just
Now,
a little nudge.
Matthew Williams has got up the inside. Can he make it in the entry zone? No, he cannot. So yet, still not quite enough there for Matthew Williams. He's going to have to think about maybe trying an undercut. We saw the undercut work really well for Janos Brakshock. He pitted 2 laps before Jerne Simoncic, which got him the race lead in Highlands 1 week ago.
We have all these battles down the order, and especially in the example of Brakshock, Peeve, and the second example here with Hives and Williams just being close together, of course this also enables the cars behind to catch up a little bit, because obviously when you're battling, when you're trying to go too wide through corners and next to the racing line, you know, you're gonna go a bit slower, and for example, Jerne Simoncic is just gonna be sitting patiently here, trying to look for an opening between Williams and Hives, as Williams looks in the inside, but pulls back into it.
Yeah, it seems like he is going to have to be right on the back of Hives to make that work. It seems like he, I don't know if it's just the way they've got the wings set up or whether it is just the car, but he is running out of RPM. But if he is even closer, then he should be able to at least get his nose on the inside.
Now he's very close to him, coming to the last corner. I do think that Williams is running a little bit more wing maybe than Hives, and very
this could
close.
give Simoncic a run, because Simoncic is now going to be very close.
Yep.
And
That
he is getting close.
Look at that.
Oh, Williams is gone defensive.
Run. Also getting a little bit of slipstream left over, and that's Williams!
Williams pushed Jerne there a little bit on the grass, and then Williams ended up... Oh, can he get out the gravel? As I said, it is quite difficult to get out the gravel in this car, and he is going to drop down to 12th place. Is that at the moment? He's got a little gap to drop into. Let's see if we can grab a replay there. So we're going to go on board with Matthew Williams. He's drifting back over to the right a little bit of contact with Jerne, and then that pulls his car even more to the right. Luckily, he does not smash into Jerne at the apex of turn 1. I'm not quite sure. It looks a little bit like Matthew squeezed him, but there was certainly some weird contact there as well. And Matthew is now down into 14th position.
Well, when you have rubber on rubber rubbing onto each other, that's a tongue twister there. It can get quite easy, so a bit of friction can, you know, throw the cars a bit, give a little bit of a bump, so when you correct, it may cause a bit of bigger contact, and especially when you're running with open wheel cars, that gets even more extreme, of course. We now have Ivan Leonov and Noah Roivers in the pit lanes, so we have them doing their mandatory pit stop. But back to the topic there, I think Williams just on the defense a little bit too aggressive, took a bit too much risk, and in the end, Simoncic gained everything from it, and Williams paid the price for it.
Oh, got a couple of people in the pit here. Who's this? This is Zolt Souks and Zoltan Hives, and also is that Vlad Tokarev as well. So we've got 3 drivers coming into the pit lane. Very slow pit lane, 40 kilometers an hour, as we have said. And because you lose best part of a lap, these guys were a bit off the lead. They might actually come out close-ish to Janos Brakshock if they are far enough behind. About 5-second time for the tyres to get changed, these drivers. As they come out of the pit lane, then they got to stay away from that yellow line. Keep to the left as they come out onto the track. These drivers are going to be coming full speed. And now we've got Williams with Caceres going, oh, he did a little switchback there, and he's going to get up round the outside even of turn 4. He's got the lead into turn 5, and he's now up to 8th position, although people obviously starting to make their pit stops. And you
We
can
just had
see...
Peeve come in.
Oh, Peeve come in. Let's grab a look where he is. And Brakshock...
I do think that is actually a good strategy, because we now have Brakshock, like, barely catching up to the people who already pitted.
Traffic's coming as well. He's already got a car behind him, has Brakshock, has made a pit stop, and unfortunately there seems to be a bit of an error where lots of people are in a Invictus Motorsport livery, which they are not part of that, or a few of these drivers anyway are not part of that team, but it's given them that livery anyway. And will Brakshock respond? Yes, he
He's
does.
going in.
So let's keep on board with Janos Brakshock, and we will stay blind to where Peeve is to see how big this undercut is. Peeve was right on his tail. If he has got any sort of clear track on the outlap, he will be able to make it work. So let's see. Brakshock is stopping now, getting another set of those tyres. About, as I said, 5 seconds to make the tyre change, and he's going to come out very slowly. 40 kilometers an hour till we get to the second white line. There's one. There is two. Now where
That
is...
could get close.
Where is Peo Peeve?
He's coming down the front stretch now. Oh, and he just comes out behind him, but has more momentum, so maybe can carry a bit more. I think the gap got a little bit smaller, so maybe for Peeve it worked out a little bit.
Yeah, Peeve decided to pit. That would have been on lap 14, so that was exactly halfway into the race. Obviously, later on in the sprint race, the race is 20 laps, so the drivers will have to make 20 laps out of one set of tyres. So I don't think tyre wear will necessarily be an issue, especially as Brakshock responded straight away. So they'll have pretty even tyres towards the end of the race. But it looks like it is a two-man fight for the race victory today. And Peeve is very close. He got a really great exit out of turn number 8. He is making Brakshock go defensive. Peeve is going to have to go round the outside. We noticed this about 10 laps ago. He tried to go around the outside, but he didn't quite have enough momentum. He's only got half his car alongside, but he's going to try it. He is going to try it. What a move there by Peo Peeve. That is a really, really good move. Brakshock, give him credit, left him all the space. Nice fair racing there. And that is Peeve up into what will eventually be the lead of the race, as the cars ahead of him still need to make a pit stop. And as you can see on the left tower, the little number 1 by their names means they've made a pit stop. So it is just Williams and Caceres who need to make their mandatory pit stop.
Oh, and Matthew Williams now heading in.
And
Caceres as well.
Yeah, so this is for the lead officially now. Peo Peeve leads the race. He led the sprint race in Highlands for quite a while, but could not quite make it work as Simičić got him on the last lap. Now Brakshock has 10 laps to see what he can do to claw back the race victory today.
Well, overall, this pit cycle worked out very well for Simičić, because he's now up in 6th place and right behind Zooks. So, of course, his target will be to try and get Zooks, maybe. If he is maybe very lucky and maybe some issue, like a little bit of an error or any other issue happens to Hamlet or Mrocek, he could get those two as well, but I think at the moment for this race, Zooks is the best he can still get if he keeps on with his current pace, which is, you know, steadily creeping up to the rear of the 5th place car.
It seems Simičić not quite on the exact same pace, but then the qualifying seemed to be quite a big factor here, because the field is spread out a little bit, as in the first few people. There's this big gaggle of cars coming out of the final corner. Tom Sadley's in 11th place. Remember, he pit on the very first lap after that spin, and he's now up to 11th place. So that worked out for him. But behind him, you've got two teammates, Hives and Van der Neet, going into turn 1. And Van der Neet Hives, has made that work into turn 1, overtaking his team boss, because Danny is the owner of Netrex. And unlike Peeve, these guys are actually racing for Netrex. Peeve has the Netrex livery for some reason. As we come down the front straight, yeah, Brakshock is dropped to just a tiny bit, so maybe Peeve has the pace to keep this working.
I was thinking earlier, it would. I think Steve is running a little bit more aggressive downforce, so maybe with a bit more risk of having oversteer.
We've got someone off. Who is this? I think it's Riera. So let's go on board with him. He's coming around turn 5 into turn 6. Is he just going to hit the grass or something? Oh, he loses the rear end. Does a little pirouette. And does he get going? Seems like he has, but he had to wait for a couple of cars to go past. That's nice and safe. Good job for him.
Really battles all throughout the field. We've got Zoltan Hives now right on the back of Tom Satherley.
Yeah, Hives, this is only his second race in FSR from what I know. I believe it was his debut last time, but he's been very quick. Sadly, obviously coming second place in our Pro Championship, which is the second tier last year after a good fight with Mark Hutchinson. And just ahead of these guys is Vlad Tokarev and Chris Shepherd, who are weaving all over the place trying to get out of slipstream. We've got to be careful how many times they do that because don't want to get any sort of penalty. They can't quite get too close on this occasion. They're still close enough that with 6 laps to go at the end of this to make an overtake.
7th and 8th, we also have Leonov fighting Jakubovic, coming to the last corner now. And I really have to say, for pretty high downforce cars, let's be honest, because it's Formula cars, and no matter if they only go 250, they're still, you know, very light, very high downforce overall. For high downforce cars to have this little grip loss in the
Lenov's going to go around the outside here. He's got a very good run. He's got much more overspeed than we've seen with a lot of people. But can he keep it around the outside? Oh, the car. Jakubovic. Yeah, Jakubovic hits the grass on the inside, which pushed him wide. Leonov got a little bump there, went out to the wall, and he's now going to get overtaken by Stepkowski as well. Yes, Stepkowski made a little bit of contact, and there's another car in there who I think is Stoyan Barbakov. Yes, it is. Yep. And now Stepkowski goes off as well. So all happening there at the lower end of the points. Actually, I say that points go down to 20th place. So there's still a fair handful of points or so to be taken or lost in this battle, which is really big battle now for, let's just say, around the 10th position mark. And now Zoltan Hives is coming past Tom Sadley. He's got a good overspeeder and he's only halfway down the straight, so he should have his nose just ahead as they tip it in to turn number 1. Peeve managed to go around the outside, but can Hives make it work? Yes, he can. Good move there.
Very good form.
Zoltan Hives.
He executed it quite well. For the last corner, he went for a late apex, so of course he gets straightened out earlier. And, you know, the earlier you're straightened out, the earlier you can get onto the throttle. And if you put down the power right, don't get any wheel spin, you have perfect traction, and have the perfect drive to just basically drive past your opponent here.
Yeah, it definitely seems the front straight is long enough, as we see Jerne Simoncic now. You said he was catching Zolt Suks, and he has now done that. But he's lost out. He must have higher downforce than Zooks, because he got alongside, but he couldn't make it work as we come into turn number 1. There's a little bit of a wiggle on the steering wheel when they were still on the straight, so I think Jerne may be a little bit frustrated with how his race has gone, but 6th place is still a fair few points. If we bring up the points total, 6th place would be 20 points. It's still not great compared to the 35 that Brakshov's going to be getting, but overall it is a nice little bonus to his total.
But look at that form through the third to last corner here. Simoncic now right on the tail of Zooks. Braking earlier a bit. I think he's going to try and go for late apex as well, but he doesn't quite get the power down.
Yeah, he couldn't get the power down, so that is not going to be an opportunity on this occasion.
Someone's in the pit there. I think that was Chris Shepherd.
Stepkowski.
Stepkowski
has gone into the pit lane.
I think there was damage then.
Yeah, he is last. He's actually come out of the pit lane now. Oh, he comes out, he's going to go side by side with someone, but he's now a lap down, so this is a little bit awkward for him. As there was a red by Vlad Tokarev, so he was obviously trying to make a move on Chris Shepherd, but couldn't make it work, as these guys have been batting for a couple of laps now. We've been keeping an eye on this, and Chris is doing a good job so far in 8th position. As we come to start lap 26 as the leaders go across the line, so only 3 laps left. including the one that the leaders are on. It seems like it is a fairly similar situation with Peeve and Brackshot being at the front, but Simincic is down in 6th place, so the championship is going to be changed quite a lot. And now Tokarev really close to Shepherd, really, really close. He's almost touching him as he pulls out, but yeah, he's got higher wings. Shepherd's now pulling away a little bit. Tokarev definitely has higher wings than Shepherd, which is what is stopping him from making any sort of overtake into turn 1.
I just saw earlier when Simoncic was getting quite close to Zooks, he actually eased off the throttle a bit. So I think he's maybe just, trying to stay close, trying to use the slipstream and, count on his high downforce to carry him through the middle sector. So, he can remain close, then maybe get into better striking distance for the next attempt, and here comes the next attempt. Even though the gap is quite big once again.
Yeah, I don't think he's, as with Tokarev, I don't think he's quite got the wings to be able to make it work, but let's see what Tokarev can do on this occasion. He's got the slipstream. Shepherd's going a little bit defensive into turn 1. Lad is going to go right to the inside. Can he get his nose there? No, he can't. Oh, but Chris was a little bit wiggly, which has slowed down Tokarev, which means that this Netrex car, who is Zoltan Hives, is going to be close enough, but not quite close enough. However, we're coming on to the final lap, and as it's such a short lap, let's watch it with Brackshock. Can he get close enough to Peeve? We're now on lap 28 of 28 for the first race of round 2 of the Formula Sim Racing 2020 Winter Series, and Peeve did a really good overtake to get around the outside of Brackshock after Brackshock led the first part of the race. Peeve on the undercut strategy managed to get himself in a good position, and it looks like coming through Sector 2 that he's going to be able to hold on to this lead, take a victory here after missing out in round 1, to give him a good 35 points towards his total.
But, okay, the lap is already over there. Otherwise, I would have gotten a bit nervous in his place, because that car got off the track, got back onto the track. If it was a couple more laps, the backmarkers might have come into play for the lead battle there. But, luckily for him, the race is over now. And victor of race 1 is Peo Peeve after an impressive overtake. A very good strategy against Jonas Bradshaw.
Oh, Simincic got Zooks on the final corner. Sorry to butt in. Simincic got Zooks on the final corner. Can he drag race it to the line? Ran out of fuel. He ran out of fuel, and that has given Zooks back that position. But let's quickly run you through the final podium position, because we missed out, which was David Mocek on his first race in the Winter Series for 2020. Has got a 3rd position. Good points for him. Then Ben Hamlet, a nice showing there in 4th. Then Zooks managed to repass Simincic as Simincic ran out of fuel as they went across the line. And then we got Jakubovic in 7th, Shepherd in 8th, Tokarev in 9th, Ives in 10th, Satherley in 11th, Vandenit 12th. Then we got Barbakov, Leonov, Rovers, Williams in 16th, Casillas in 17th, Delgado, Teichmann, Pedro Mora picking up final points for today. However, I'm going to quickly see if I can get a replay with that battle with Simincic.
I actually think, I saw just now on that move, Simoncic went down the inside quite late. There was a bit of contact, and from my experience here, I think...
yeah, I've just got it here. I think that might have just about been okay from Simincic. He's a little bit late, but yeah, then he ran out of fuel. Oh, no. Oh, he lifted. He lifted.
Yeah, I don't think he ran out of fuel.
Yes.
Very gentlemanly here.
Okay, no, so he did think that was too much, so he gave the position back. That is some good sportsmanship from your Formula Sim Racing 2019 champion and your Formula Sim Racing 2019 Winter Series champion, Peo Peeve. But we will now move into a warm-up session where we will organise the grid for race 2. Obviously, that grid will be taken from second fastest time that these drivers do. The session, which we will find out in a moment, because obviously don't know. We do believe it's Brackshock because he set 2 times in the 49s and no one else was in the 49s, if I remember rightly. So I think it'll be Janos Brackshock on pole, so he'll have another go to get a win. But it was POP who managed to get him in the end. But we'll take a quick break just for a couple of minutes, and then we'll be back to run you through the grid once it is ready. So we'll see you in a couple of minutes. And welcome back to the 2020 Formula Sim Racing Winter Series Round 2 from Teretonga. We have just finished that feature race where we will now move into the sprint race. These drivers don't have to make a pit stop, so it's a straight sprint race. As we saw with the time loss, or the distance loss, I should say, I don't think anyone will be doing it anyway, so it's going to be a straight sprint for 20 laps around here. And we will get the grid to you in just a moment, but I'm your commentator Cameron Rodger, and I'm again joined by Nico Hillebrand.
Hello there again. I got to tell you, I'm going to be quite interested to see how the tires will hold up, because obviously they don't have a mandatory pit stop here, only an optional one. And for 20 laps, so the distance is just 20 kilometers shorter than the feature race. It could get quite interesting with cars that are constantly in dirty air, because the less aero grip you have, the more you have to lean on the tires. And obviously that's not going to be very good on the tires in the long term.
Yeah, we didn't, as we have the lovely rFactor man in the background shouting, we didn't really see anyone do the extra long strategy. We saw a couple of people in Highlands doing that, so we saw that the tyres did drop off a bit. But here, everyone pitted before sort of half distance or around half distance, so we don't know how the tyres are going to last for 20 laps. But as we have a different grid, or a slightly different grid, I should say, from their second fastest time in qualifying, we will now run you through the grid for the sprint race.
Right, so we have Jonas Brachok, sorry. They're still in pole position because his second to fastest lap already was pole position after all. Then David Mrocek in second, Zolt Sux in third, Zoltan Hives in fourth. Tom Saverly is coming in fifth place here. It's going to start from row 3, I think, again as last time. Payup, last race's winner, in sixth place. Then Matthew Williams in seventh, Jan Leonov in eighth, Yanis Imancic starting again from ninth, and Ben Hamlet from 10th place.
It's a slightly different grid, has to be said, but obviously the main names are still there. And the interesting thing to note is that Semencic, even with his second fastest time, could only get to 9th place. So this must just be the pace that he has today. And it looks like Brachok is obviously the man to beat, but Peeve down in 6th place, as you said. So this could be a good day for Brachok if he can make this work. And if he
I think
can
this will be interesting.
make this work, it'll be good for his points.
So last race start, Peopiv obviously came with the very quick move for P2 down the inside. But this time he's going to have a couple more cars there, and he's quite far ahead of the marking there on the grid. I think, yeah, he has to back off there a bit and is now too far back. And yeah, there we go. As the last people find their way onto the grid, and soon the lates will start. And there we go, 2, 3, 4 and 5 red lights. And it goes green, and here we go for the 20-lap sprint race. Peopiv trying to look for the outside there as the middle just got closed off by Hives and Sux, and Peeve still trying to go around the outside, not on the grippy line. Struggling, but he is gonna make it around the outside for 4th place. So quite a jump for him, 2 positions up already, and maybe trying to peek down the inside of Zoltan Hives already. But at the front, Brachok and Mrocek trying to stay ahead, trying to gain a bit while the action is unfolding behind them. And a lot of people still side by side through the middle of the middle sector as they go down into the last corner for the first time. Good exit from Brachok, trying to get a bit of distance.
Someone is backwards there. Who on earth was that? There's been some contact. I think Pedro Mora's involved, who I've just gone board with, but someone was coming in backwards. Reverse entry into that final corner. We've got a massive gaggle of cars here down just outside of the points. Points only go to 15th place in the sprint race. And as they all come into turn one, it seems like everyone has pretty much got through the first lap. Couple of people in the pit lane. That is Shepard and Barbakov. It's a shame for Shepard because he was fairly decent there. Back at the front, it is Brachok, who's got himself a second lead from Mrocek. So he could really just check out here and go off to another race win. So we have to see if Mrocek can keep up with him.
And I don't think that Peopiv is going to want to let him do that as well. Hives with a little bit of a lockup through the last corner there, and that of course gives Peeve quite the good distance into striking distance here now with Slipstream. He's right on his tail. Swerves out very far to the inside, but I think not gonna be fast enough quite, so he should have maybe gotten a bit more Slipstream there.
Yeah, he once he pulled out, he lost ground, so he's definitely got higher wings than Hives. So we'll have to see how that works itself out. As we saw, Tokarev couldn't get past Shepard because of from what it looked like anyway, was a higher wing setup, because obviously this track is completely 2 halves. One is basically 2 straights with a hairpin in between them, and the other half is these fast flowing corners where you need the stability of the wings. So you really have to go either low downforce or high downforce. And some drivers choosing the high downforce are finding it hard to overtake.
I do have to say, I think maybe Hives is not running that high downforce. I think that Peeve just gave up his slipstream a bit too early, while Hives still was getting pulled from Rodger's slipstream right ahead.
And now we got Wozniacka pulling out the slipstream on Danny van der Neet. He stayed into it, basically bump drafting Danny, but yeah, he went too wide that time. Yeah, maybe you are right. Wozniacka got a good boost there, but he stayed behind van der Neet until he was basically touching him. So maybe Peeve just needs to stay in the slipstream a little bit longer.
I think especially with the different aero strategies here, it's going to be very hard for some people to make moves. And as we see here, there's again duels like just entirely through the entire field. And Wozniacka's looking down the inside again there, just as Hamlet, Williams, and Leonov for 7th place as a three wide group here. And I have to tell you, it's gonna be quite interesting how to see though, you know, how long they can keep up this pace, how long they can just keep pushing on the tires. Because as soon as the tires wear off, and I think this is where Bragchuk is going to have a deciding advantage. No dirty air for him, no pressure, so he can just run his own race. Meanwhile, all the guys behind are having dirty air. Well, maybe Marocek not so much, but he's under pressure. There's a lockup again, just as I mentioned the pressure. And I think on the long run, they're going to really put some stress on their tires. So they really have to maybe try and conserve a little bit as well.
Yeah, I think the tyres will start to give up towards the end of the race, especially the rear tyres, as the exits are very important. So that could give some differences in the acceleration, which could help the overtaking later on in the race. But Simicic is now down into 10th place. I just noticed, so he lost a place.
Oh, that's Wozniacka! Big hits!
Oh yes, he has lost his rear wing. Let's jump to a replay of that. Oh, it doesn't seem to be working. I will just quickly sort that. Here we go. So he's gone around the outside. He's lost the rear. He's trying to overtake someone around the outside. Lost the rear. And with a grass and gravel runoff, nothing he could have done there. So that is a DNF for Wozniacka after that issue in the first race as well.
Very unfortunate there. I think he just got a bit too far on the outside, just tried to brake on the marbles, and of course you're not going to have any grip there whatsoever with slick tires. So I think he had no chance of catching that.
Yeah, in practice myself, I had quite a few crashes into that turn one. It is a very difficult corner to get right because you really want to go on the limit. But then if you touch that grass in any sort of way or you lose the rear end, you just got no chance of saving it. Talking about no chance, I think Marocek doesn't really have a chance of getting this victory at the moment anyway, as we're coming to complete lap 7. He's almost about 2.5-3 seconds away. What have you seen?
AOP just barely, really barely, just a couple millimeters avoiding Hives there. Hives, of course, like late on the brakes from Rodger, and AOP trying to be even later, completely locking up the tires. And Zooks, yeah.
Unfortunately, he hit the limiter, which I noticed Peeve did not earlier. So I do think there's a wing difference to be played. And it's certainly working a bit because he's made a couple of positions in 4th place, but he's going to be losing some more points to Janos Bragchuk, despite getting that win in the opening race just a few minutes ago. He's now down into 4, or up into 4th, I should say, from when he started his grid position.
I can see on Peeve's car on one of the tires. I think that's the left front. Well, actually, both tires. I can see quite a bit signs for flat spots, so that might actually be a big problem later on in the race. We're just below half mark, now going on to lap 9.
Simicic is... that was very tight with Ben Hamlet. Simicic tried to get a little cheeky nose up the inside by using the pit exit. And obviously then the grass came, so he had to back out. But he almost got his nose there. Still down in 10th place, though.
I think he's not going to be happy in that place. He definitely wants to gain a bit there. And I'm going to be honest, if he does just manage to get it right once properly, I think from his lines, he's trying to avoid the aero push a little bit, so maybe try and save his tires a bit, just as he comes a bit sideways with the third to last corner. I mean, as soon as you get past the first couple here, then you still have the arrow pull from the next people ahead. There's of course a bit of a gap from Leonov to Williams, but it's still within the range just barely not in the range anymore now, that he could get some slipstream, but still not quite getting close enough to Hamlet there, I think. Hamlet must really be running a bit lower wings than Mončić, because he's just not getting the chance to even pull to the side.
Yeah, there's a little bit for the first like third of the straight where Hamlet's actually pulling away despite Simčić being in the slipstream, but it's just because Hamlet hasn't got to that sort of drag barrier yet. But then once he does, then Simčić starts to catch, but it's far too late down the straight of Simčić's higher wings. And we have someone off. That is Pedro Delgado. Is off. He went off at turn 2 or 3, end of sector 1. Simčić has got a run. He's on the outside. He's barely gaining anything now that he's pulled out slipstream. Can he go around the outside like Peopiv did in race number 1?
He's getting too far outside.
Yeah, he went on the marbles.
Off the grip line.
And on the marbles couldn't make that work for Simčić. So I'm sure this is a bit of a frustrating afternoon for Simčić. He obviously isn't quite the level where he would have expect himself, and he's losing quite a lot of points actually in the championship. He lost 15 in the first race. Now we got
there we go.
Oh, he might
putting
get
the
it
right
now.
Pressure here.
Yes.
Van Hamlet a bit out of the rhythm in the middle of sector 2, and then Simčić really playing it well. Now trying to go for the late apex, I think.
Okay, he's close enough.
He's struggling a bit there.
But you see there, Hamlet was just pulling away, and now he's getting the slipstream. But is it too late down the straight? He's very close. He's got to go to the right. He needs to try and get as far to the left as possible, not go onto those marbles. It's a little bit better. Oh yeah, but then he touched the marbles. Yeah, just saw he went over them, and he couldn't quite make it work. Yeah, couldn't quite make it work, unfortunately for him. Down into 10th place for now. Your double champion last year had an amazing year. Maybe this is the first signs that he can be beaten in 2020. Who knows? Still got the 2020 season to look forward to. The first race is in 6 weeks' time, I think it is, or 7 weeks' time, on the 8th of March. Oh, and
there we go.
Hamlet goes off again. Yeah, Hamlet goes off again, which has given Simčić the run. But can Hamlet now come back at him? Oh no, he's too far. So this is pressure that Simčić has been putting onto him for quite a few laps now, and it's finally worked. So Simčić is up into 9th place.
We also saw at the Monaco Invitational event, the US 20,000, Simčić is just always a force to be reckoned with, because in both races there as well, we saw him, kind of staying under the radar, really. He never got involved with any trouble, especially in the feature race. He stayed quiet a bit, and suddenly he was just out of everyone's reach, just driving away. And really, this silent approach, this, backing out of possible attacks, but then, feigning the attack when the opponent is just feeling, a bit safe. That's really Joni's specialty, I think, because just here with Van Hamlet, he showed this right again. And, this little strike from the shadows, even in the blazing sun in New Zealand, really shows how strong his nerves are in these battle situations.
Yeah, I think that's one real reason why he had such a strong 2019. And he won both series that we ran and won the World Championship in quotation marks easily. But I'm sure it wasn't actually easy, but he made it look that. But he was just so clinical, and he knew when to fight and when to not fight. And that is one thing he's certainly very good at. But it seems that at this track in Teretonga, qualifying was even more important than we saw at Islands Motorsports Park. With him qualifying down towards the bottom of the top 10, that certainly didn't help. Peopiv is now looking on the inside of Hives, but again couldn't quite make it work. And sadly, I think there might have been a bit of contact there with Zooks into turn 1, which could put him under pressure from Williams. Williams has had a good race, I tell you, up in 7th place. Pretty sure he started outside of the top 10.
Yeah, I think he started a bit down as well. I think 12th or 13th was his grid position. So I'm not quite sure right now, but, he's really just hanging on to the back there.
Someone else has gone off. Is that Barbakov, is it? Let's have a look. So Stepkowski is coming down into, this is replay, into turn number 2 and 3. Is he going to be contact? Yeah, Stepkowski gets spun around. He was off at this corner just 5 laps ago or so. He's got to make his way out.
Oh,
Back
and
onto the
that's
track.
Zooks trying to defend against Savalli, and Savalli down the inside, on the very edge of the track, side by side, and does he have it? Can he make it stick around the outside? Zooks, yeah, Zooks is behind now. Very good move from Tom Savalli there.
Yes, not a bad move from Tom Sully, considering it is 6:05 in the morning. He has woken up early to participate, which is always a thing for New Zealand people of that part of the world, racing in generally European time zone leagues. But now Zooks is under attack from Matthew Williams, who's made it work. I think there's a tiny bit of contact there, actually. But can Zooks get back? Might be able to, actually, although Williams goes to defend as well.
Ooh.
Good defense from Williams, but will it be enough? Zooks has the overspeed coming into turn 1. He's got his car ahead. Can he get it down to the apex? Yes, he can.
Oh, and he gets into the grass there. Both slow down quite a lot, and Leonov is going to be thanking them both, because now he's right on the back of them.
Yeah, Leonov has just sat there quietly. I don't think we've said his name at all for the last hour. He's had a bit of a quiet day, but he's looking decent here in 8th position, ahead of Jene Simoncic, who has caught up. And he might be able to get a couple more points here, actually, as we have 3 laps to go already. 17 laps, I should say, have elapsed pretty quickly, as does around this track. And now we've got Matthew Williams. He's gonna... Oh, he can't. Couldn't get his nose down the inside. He's going to try again, pull back into the slipstream. Couldn't quite make it work. It's gone a little bit wide, but Leonov has dropped off a little bit, actually. Yeah, just in the back.
Right on his back.
Yeah, just in the background. Simoncic is now right on the back of Leonov, so can he make this work with 2.5 laps to go?
Going to be quite interesting to see. And he's not feigning it this time. Down the inside and clean move.
I've not seen anyone do anything like that, even during practice sessions and everything. That is a brilliant, opportunistic move by Simoncic, but does he have the top speed to hold off from Leonov? I think he might be able to, as we now come on to the penultimate lap of the race. Lap 19, Brakshock is still leading by 4 seconds to Mocek, who couldn't quite keep up. And Williams there, is he going to be able to make the move? Not on this occasion either.
I have to say, really quite interesting here. I mean, Simoncic, I think I saw him feign this attack at least 3 or 4 times through these 2 races now. But to actually think that this one was not a feign now, just a legitimate attack down the inside and very clean as well. Very impressive to see. And of course, quite brilliant strategy, because if you get adapted to this, oh yeah, it's just going to be another feint, and it wasn't. So suddenly his car was there, he made it stick, and up in P3, P4 we have Peopiv right on the tail of Zoltan Hives and Morocek as well.
So we're on to the last lap as well. So this is the last opportunity for these guys to make an overtake work. We've got Brakshock now 5 seconds up the road, coming into Sector 2. It looks like he's going to take out victory for the sprint race in round 2 of the Formula SimRacing 2020 Winter Series. But we do have a couple of corners left to see what these drivers can do. Looks like not quite close enough, so let's turn our eyes to Janos Brakshock, who has once again been the star of the show, got 2 pole positions, the only person in the 49s in qualifying, and he's going to take the win in the sprint race here. Round 2. Teretonga Park for the Winter Series, and Mocek is going to get a 2nd place, then Hives in 3rd, Pave in 4th, sadly in 5th, good result from the local man. Zooks in 6th, Williams 7th, Jene Simoncic in 8th place, Leonov in 10th, Van der Niet in 11th, Van der Niet 10th, Jakubovic 11th, Noah Rovers 12th, Teichmann in 13th, Riera 14th, and the last point goes to Pedro Mora. But that was a very interesting track, has to be said. Very short, only a few corners, not many places that you can make any sort of overtake. Certainly led to a couple of interesting races. Now we can see a couple of donuts in. Yeah, Nico, that was certainly a very interesting track and a very short one, is to be said.
Quite something. I really have to admit, I almost didn't notice how quickly the laps went by, because there was constantly just a lot of action going on. And I was about to say, before you mentioned this was the last lap, I was about to say, because these second to fourth place guys were so close together that this battle was going to be far from over if they had anything to say about it. But you had anything to say about it with the race distance. So yeah, I think if the race had gone on a bit longer, Marocek may have, you know, gotten into a bit of a harder fight there as well, because Peeve and Zoltan Hive's just really not willing to let go there. Constantly on his tail, and we saw that a lot through the entire field. The trains just persisted for the whole 20 laps, and really impressive to see. Very good racecraft there, and also, very good sportsmanship with the example of Jenny Simoncic letting by. I don't remember who it was actually for the position after the contact.
Tatuus, yeah. So after that, we got a good races there. Peeve taking out the feature race, and then Janos Brackshop taking out the sprint race. But Brackshop finishing second in the feature race as well meant he's going to get a good load of points as we move next week to round 3, Hampton Downs. Another short track. It's only a couple of 100 meters longer, but it does have that long front straight down into turn 1. I'm sure we're going to see a lot slipstreaming there. That is another race to look forward to next weekend as well. The Winter Series is 5 races, 5 weeks in a row. So the weekend after that, we will have Puck Park for round 4, and then the week after that, we have the at Man Circuit Chris Amon. It is certainly something to look forward to. So that has been round 2 of SimRacing 2020 Winter Series, and I'd like to thank you for watching. Check out the forums if you want to get involved. There's a pre-qualifying system, so even if you join late to the championship, you can still get a place on this grid if you'd like. Have the standings and such later. But until next week, I have been Cameron Rodger. Data has been. See you next time.
Auf Wiedersehen.